Formula One in 2019, and we start here as we have done since 1996 in Melbourne, along the Melbourne Walk. We've got a full complement of drivers alongside us. Paul Di Resta, let's start with you and work our way along if we could. What are you looking forward to in 2019 in particular, and how excited for the new season?
It's just always a new season, isn't it? And it's the likes of the Ferrari-Mercedes battle. Can Red Bull join that? But I think the key to it is what Charles Leclerc is going to do. He's up against Sebastian Vettel, a four-time world champion, and I think he's got the taste of trying to take it away from him. Drew?
I think this is the first time in the V6 hybrid era that I've come to Melbourne, and I genuinely don't know who's going to be world champion at the end of it. I mean, we sort of assume Lewis is going to be the favourite because he's come off the back of great success, but in testing, Seb and Ferrari were on great form, and you know, Seb's here with his adoring public and signing his autographs. He's going to be in a great mood, I think, coming this weekend, Martin.
With a new moustache as well for the new season. Very, very fetching. Yeah, Martin, what are you looking forward to?
This is the most excited I've been about any season in the hybrid era, which started in 2014. The paddock is close. The midfield appear to have closed up on the top three as well. We don't know who's going to win this race. We don't know who's going to win the World Championship. And it's all to play for. And a lot of change. Change is the key word this year.
Damon?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do one of those things that these VIPs you interview on the grid do, Martin. I'm going to say, I'm looking forward to it all. I'm excited by it all. I just want everyone to win. You know, it's a great thing. It's a great show. It's a 9-month road show of excitement, and we don't know what's going to happen. It's fantastic.
Johnny?
Young Brits. I want to see how sort of George Lando get on. We've got our London-born guy as well with Alex Albon. So I think, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see how they can deal with all the pressure that is going to come their way. But I think they're going to enjoy it.
So, great anticipation and a fabulous atmosphere up and down this Melbourne Walk. But we arrived yesterday into the paddock with some sad news. The passing away, the sudden passing away of race director Charlie Whiting. Tributes led yesterday. The quote that stood out for me yesterday was from Sebastian Vettel, who said he was our man, the middleman. Great respect from all the drivers, and this is what some of them had to say yesterday. A very strange day yesterday in the paddock coming in, and everybody, as we arrived, had the anticipation, and then news sort of travelled through the paddock, didn't it? It's so sad to think that actually Charlie won't be starting the race. He won't be looking after it from now on. You've known him for 40 years. It was really melancholy.
It was horrible, and as you say, sad, and of course sad for his family and his children especially. But you know, the more I think about what Charlie would have done this weekend, the more you realise how he was the epicenter of F1. You know, he would have this weekend be addressing the stewards, doing the track inspection, starting the race, running the stewards' office, addressing the team managers, addressing the drivers, and you know, nothing happened. Nothing got the green light anywhere until Charlie had signed it off and checked it all out. And what a loss! And to go through all of that, I'm just putting a piece together for Sunday, for our Sunday show, and you know, he was the referee, yeah, the police, the judge, the jury. He had a tough job. He had to give out some penalties and make up rules. And through all of that, from his peers through to all of us in Formula 1, to the youngest drivers coming into the game, he ended up with total respect. And that's not easy to do, is it? When you've got to dish out lots of penalties and bring everybody into line.
He was one of the pillars of F1. I think that's the thing. What will his legacy be for you, Paul?
It's very hard to say exactly the impact it's going to have, but you don't realise what you've got until it's gone sometimes, and that's the impact I think that's gone up down this paddock. Even this morning, I think it's still surreal to believe what's happened, but his door was always open. He was a friendly face, and through all that referee, what Martin was talking about, he still had the character he had, and there's nobody got a bad word to say about him, and you just feel he was the character you wanted to see this sport and driving it forward, and he has done that, and I think he will always leave that behind.
Yeah, he will be sorely missed. Up and down the paddock, the thoughts of everyone here will be very much with Charlie Whiting, who died yesterday at the age of 66. Okay, after the break, we're going to move it on to what Charlie would have loved, and that is the racing. At one stage, but it's cooler now, about mid-20s, a little bit breezy, but we're looking ahead with anticipation to 2019. What will happen? And we're hoping there'll be 6 drivers in it at every race. The top 3 looking potentially closer than ever. This is what some of them had to say.
feel we have made improvements already, even though we haven't driven a single lap since testing, but I'm confident we can be in a better shape. I'm sure every team has learned since testing, so it's only guessing where we're going to be. But as we last were on track, we are chasing Ferrari and see where we are here.
What is the best thing of driving a Ferrari?
Everything really. I mean, obviously when you are a Formula 1 driver and when you are a driver in general, you always want to fight for the win. So I will say the best thing of driving a Ferrari is to know that you have a car capable of winning, which I didn't last year, and as a driver you always want to reach the best possible result. So yeah, obviously this is probably the best thing.
Well, Damon, good to have you with us. I don't know about you, but I'm incredibly excited to see what Charles Leclerc can do up against Sebastian Vettel. Is this a defining year, do you think, for Vettel, going up against this very talented youngster?
Well, people are talking about it like that. I think the thing they're thinking about is what happened in his last year at Red Bull when he had Daniel Ricciardo up against him, and he seemed to take a bit of a pasting. And he had a bit of a wobble last year. I think he knows that everyone's looking at him this year and going, OK, can he take this kind of pressure? He's a world champion, he should be able to. And I think he probably relishes the challenge, because I think he probably wants to prove to everyone he is can win another title. And if he does, fantastic. 5 titles, just like Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, a change of management. There you can see him talking to Matteo Binotto. He's been there for a quarter of a century. He kind of reminds me, I don't know about you, about Stefano Domenicali. This guy is Ferrari through and through. A spirit of openness from him. And do you think also he will be very willing to apply the 1-2 at an early stage, and perhaps that was a mistake of last year?
I think they think that Vettel, over the course of the season, has probably got the best chance of winning the title if they've got a championship-winning car. And Charles Leclerc is saying, fine, but I'll make that very difficult decision for you. And he will, because he's a mighty fast racing driver. I'm really looking forward to that battle. But there is a different attitude there at Ferrari. Normally there'd be an invisible wall, wouldn't there? We couldn't go through last year, and it's open arms. But Binotto, very nice guy, as you say, been there a long time. He has got to play the role of Toto Wolff, for example, and James Allison, and to an extent Andy Cowell in the engine department. And he's got to handle the politics that Ferrari faces back at home as well. So he seems a very calm man, but if it goes well, it'll go very well, but it could easily unravel as well, because the pressure's immense.
Yeah, I put that to him pre-season. I suppose the fact that he's doing those jobs at Ferrari just piles it on even more. So we'll see how that plays out. What about the guys behind us? Mercedes, the reigning champions, the only champions of the turbo hybrid era, and no team has done 6, I should say, back-to-back drivers and constructors. Lewis has been, fairly open about where he thinks the car is at. Got work to do. That's no BS, whatever BS means.
I was just watching his interview there. I was just trying to detect any hint of a kind of a wry smile or a suppressed smile, because it will be a good thing to, keep your cards hidden and not let everyone know exactly where you think you stand. It certainly looks like that Ferrari have got the edge, and we're supposed to, if we're supposed to, if the story is how we're supposed to believe it, Mercedes are down, they're a bit behind, they've got work to do. He said things like, I'm not disappointed. Is he really disappointed, or do Mercedes know this is what happens every year? Ferrari played their hand a little bit too early, and then they've got a bit in the bag, and boom, on qualifying they put it on pole position.
Yeah, all the data we've got at the moment is around Barcelona on a coolish day. So this is a quirky racetrack. We don't know. It's just a guidance we've got so far.
Okay, just a quick one on Max. I have to say, do you think they've got to, think they'll be closer this year?
Yeah.
Very quickly?
Yes.
You do? Okay. Well, we'll wait and see. But that's what this opening practice session is all about. Can't wait to see the cars out on track. But we've got a packed weekend for you, isn't it?
The water.
The water, yeah. You should have sprout fins. Very good. And Mick Fanning was there. You'll be able to see that sat down on a surfboard with a world champion in the build-up to the race on Sunday. Right, here we go then. For the first time into... 5:05 on Sunday. Want to set your alarms for home Grand Prix for Daniel Ricciardo and a new home at Renault. Will it be a happy home? Just one of the many questions. Let's head up to David Croft and friends. Plenty
plenty of tricky corners. Down at turn 1, there's always a bit of carnage. Felipe Massa running into David Coulthard in 2008, and that was Coulthard's race done and dusted right there. Continuing a theme, here's David Coulthard again with wheels hanging off, but this time going over the top of Alex Wurz in the Williams back in 2007. One of the reasons the Halo's with us today. In 2008, down at turn 12, Timo Glock found it very bumpy indeed. He was feeling that incident for quite a few days afterwards, I can tell you. It's a fantastic track to open the season. You have to take care. The barriers and the bumps are never far away. We've got rid of a lot of the compounds that we had last year with the tyres. We're down to just 5, and every single week it'll be the hard tyre, the medium tyre, or the soft tyre that the teams can choose from. C2, C3 and C4 to give them their proper names, and we'll explain about the tyre regulations in a few moments' time. But what a gorgeous setting this is to start the season. The FIA Director of Formula One, Charlie Whiting, who sadly and very suddenly passed away yesterday. His smile infectious, and we miss it tremendously. It's cast a shadow over the start of the season. Paul and Johnny, a man that we all loved, respected, the heart and soul of everything that was in Formula One, Charlie Whiting.
Yeah, just a nice man that you could sort of meet wandering through the paddock. Now and again you saw him if you were on the track. You know, he was so involved with everything that was going on, from the drivers to the teams to the complaints that were going on to the stewards as well when things were coming during a race. But of course, while he was dealing with the stewards, the teams are down the radio, the drivers are on the radio too. He had to deal with so much, but he seemed to do it in a very, very calm way. Paul.
Yeah, he was right at the top of it, wasn't he? He led this sport in the directions, safety. He stewarded it, and he just kept it all together. And I think, you know, chatting with Ross Brawn, the chat we've had with Martin, the implications of where that is and how that is filled is quite hard. But I think the biggest thing is just the friendly character he was. The door was always open. Nobody had a bad word to say about him. And a lot of people have lost colleagues, you know, the friendship. And I just think the whole thing is severely impacted this first Grand Prix.
Formula One has lost a friend, there is no doubt about that. Michael Massey will take over as the race director and the starter for the race on Sunday. Big shoes to fill, but I'm sure he's more than capable of it. Big season for Daniel Ricciardo. New helmet as well, we're not going to miss that one out in the traffic, are we? It's blue on the other side, and it's pink and green on the side we can see at the moment, Johnny.
Yeah. It's racy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit racy. Yeah, there's a few of those going on. I think Kvyat's got a new one. There's typically, I think, is it Sebastian's got a new one. Typically racing drivers, I wish they'd keep them to their own sort of own colour.
Well, it's something I chatted with Daniel when we spoke in Monza about this journey he was going with Renault. His identity was all about Red Bull. That's all we knew him. Red Bull helmet, Red Bull colours, because he came through the junior programme. And, you know, what is his own identity? And that was the big question mark. And that is the only thing you can do as a driver that really pulls you out, is carry that helmet over. But he's not had that from junior karting to carry it all the way through, because Red Bull's been so dominant on it, so he's got the chance now.
Lando Norris getting a look at his new lid for a new Formula One season, one of 3 brand new rookies that join us in Formula One this year, along with George Russell and Alex Albon, of course. Charles Leclerc, is he still a rookie or not? Doesn't really matter, he's a Ferrari driver now. Gonna have to get used to it. The light is green, ladies and gentlemen, and the cars can come out onto a racetrack for a race weekend for the start of this season, and it looks like one of the Saubers is going to be the first to emerge from the pit lane, trundling along as they are, of course, at 60 kilometres an hour. And onto the track, and one of those rookies, Antonio Giovinazzi. He's only had 2 races in Formula One. It's not his debut, of course, but he's in the Sauber team for a full season. And Kimi Räikkönen is bring tyres that suits a particular circuit that wouldn't necessarily suit others.
It's definitely simplified it, isn't it, when we're talking about it? Is that Ferrari matte red now? Nice and clean for the airflow, but all that work you have to do to it each time just keeps building upon.
George Russell, this is one of the new camera angles that we're seeing. For the first time in 2019, we'll be able to see right into the whites of the driver's eyes. And look, I was I was staring into George Russell's eyes yesterday, not in a kind of romantic way. He didn't take me for dinner or anything, Johnny.
Horrible thought.
But you know what? A more relaxed and confident man at his first Grand Prix I'm yet to have come across. He was just, I'm living the dream. I've been dreaming about this for such a long time. There's no pressure on me. The car hasn't performed very well in winter testing, but it is up to me to go out and do the best I can so that the team can do the best they can. And he was saying all the right things and looking very much at ease with it.
Yeah, he's just very mature for his age. I think we see that with a lot of the younger drivers coming into Formula One nowadays, and I think because they have so much schooling before they sort of get the first wheels of a Formula One car rolling. And I think it's great because I think that enables them to just deal with that pressure that is on their shoulders, and then they just get on with the racing itself. So it's going to be great to see, as I said, with George. He's up against Robert Kubica, obviously the man who's coming back, and we're going to see exactly how both of those guys can sort of, you know, get through a very difficult time as we know with Williams.
Franz Tost looking at his car there and not admiring the paint job. There's nothing to admire about that whatsoever. That's Flovir's paint. We'll see a lot of it, Paul, because, well,
the mechanics are still going to be clearing that by European season. I mean, everything's new for this Grand Prix, and yet the first lap it does, they've just covered it in
Flovir's paint. So that's basically on there so that the car can go out, do its thing, and then they can take lots of pictures, send it back to base, and the aerodynamicists can say, oh yeah, well, we can see, by the way, the paint splatters there.
It's the flow structure, isn't it?
The air is flowing this way, that way, in the way we want it or not.
Why so critical? Because they've got the new wings on the car, everything's new just to make sure it's all working right, and that leads your development path for the next bulk, obviously before you turn off till next year.
Yeah, because those barge balls, sorry Crofty, those barge balls are going to be so important this year. The development race for ingenuity there is going to be absolutely immense.
So talking of the new front wings, wider, higher even, and much more simplified. So the width has been increased by 20 centimetres, the height by 2 centimetres, and it's been moved forward by 2.5 centimetres as well. And those complex end plates, they've gone, basically. It's a much more simplified front wing. You can tell us why in a minute, chaps. The barge boards, height's been reduced by 15 centimetres. They've been moved forward by 10 centimetres to better join up the airflow from that front wing. And the new rear wing, once again, higher, wider, and simpler as well. The height is up by 2 centimetres. The width has increased by 10 centimetres as well. And the DRS is going to be much more effective because it's a bigger gap. So why are we doing that for 2019?
What they're trying to do is take a lot of the wake. So that what we're saying by the wake is the dirty air that the car creates in front to allow the car that's behind to run a bit closer and make the racing better. And all this has been led by a team from Pat Simmons, who's now underneath Ross Brawn, and it's all incentive just to try and get the cars closer together. They've made the DRS switch bigger, so the impact of the DRS you can overtake better, you get more speed, and you can really see already a small flat spoiler for Giovinazzi, but you can see the difference in front wings, the structures, how high the end plates are in the middle of the car versus the outer end plates. But of course they still look very detailed, and that is what they're trying to do, is connect all that, but they've made it difficult. They thought the cars were going to be slower, but already typical Formula One teams, they've probably got more downforce than they ended last year on.
And again, an engineer and an aerodynamicist sort of big issue that they have. One is driver. They never like us very much because we always make mistakes. But he's the tyre. And the tyre is something that will affect. It probably won't be as big. But of course, as soon as that starts, we get the issue that we had before, which is the dirty air where the cars can't follow close. And hopefully, you know, these guys will be able to do that.
Whether it makes a huge difference or not, we will only see. In not just this race, I think, but Bahrain, China, and onwards from there. The teams have complained about the new regulations because it costs them more money to totally redesign the cars. But I think one fact is worth keeping in the back of your mind on the new changes. Had nothing been done, then obviously that turbulent air that we were experiencing last year is going to get worse because the teams would have developed the aerodynamics from last year that much more over the winter. So if nothing else, we should arrive at this season with exactly the same as we had at the start of last year, which means the problem of overtaking doesn't get any worse. So it's got to be a good thing, because otherwise the problem could have got a lot worse.
Couldn't echo that more, and what they're trying to do is trip up the guys who'd sorted it to try and get them to probably struggle a bit more and give somebody else a chance. But then you've got the argument, resource, the big guys can throw more at it, but then, you know, a bit of luck. You know, generally when you see a big change in Formula One, it's when there's a big rule change and something identifies a weakness in something else.
So, your thoughts on rule changes, on new driver lineups, pretty much anything you want to talk about, you can this morning. And your tweets are coming in already. Hashtag SkyF1, give us a shout, and we'll try and read some of your tweets on air. It's a brand new day. It's like new school, except the excitement doesn't last just for a couple of lessons. The excitement's going to last all the way to December the 1st. We are back. Formula One is go. Matt says it's 3 a.m. in Zimbabwe and I'm not doing what I love the most, watching F1. It's good to be back after a lengthy 3-month wait wherever you are watching around the world. Insomniacs, early risers, people who in Australia who might actually just be watching on this Friday morning, stroke afternoon. Welcome along. And Karun Chan knocked down in the pit lane. Which legend have you caught up with?
I have got 4-time world champion Alain Prost here. Alain, obviously at Renault. How's it looking coming into the season? You've got the home hero, Daniel Ricciardo. How's testing been for you guys?
Testing were quite good, in fact, because you always have to think about where you're coming from, and especially about the engine side. We made a big progress. So we know that everything was on schedule, has been done. We have a new development coming in the middle of the year, so we are quite confident on that. Part of that, on the chassis side, we still have a little bit more time, to get back to the top. But we go, steady, and we would like to be much closer to the top teams. We are going to see already this weekend is going to be quite, important for us. New driver with Daniel.
He's behind you at the moment. How is he fitting in?
Yeah. Very good. I mean, obviously Daniel has a good personality, good fit, with Nico. Everything goes well at the moment. We just have to be. We don't know where we are. I mean, a lot of teams are like this. It looks like we are a little bit closer to the top teams already after Barcelona, but everybody is a little bit closer. So we don't know where we are compared to the competition, like McLaren, Toro Rosso, and us, and. So let's see what happened, but at least we are more or less where our plan was. So let's see if we can confirm that during this weekend first.
I mean, last year Christian Horner was quite, there's quite a public row with you guys, wasn't it, about engines, and he came out with some very strong comments. It's interesting to hear you think you've made a step forward on the power unit. Are you going to miss having Red Bull as a reference? Because like it or not, they were very strong, and from they gave you guys a good reference. Are you going to miss that?
I think it was very important for us to have a team like Red Bull in the last 2 or 3 years. We needed a reference. Now we have the reference. Reference now is Ferrari, Mercedes, and also Red Bull, because we think that they are very, very good on the chassis side. On the engine side, we know where we are compared to the best. So we also have McLaren, and McLaren is going to bring back. So I think it's not important. We have to have our own way, and we all said. I mean, personally, I wish the best for Red Bull with the new engine manufacturer, but now we are different. Yeah.
Listen, you won a world championship with the Honda. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks.
Thank you, Karun. Talking of teams that won world championships with Honda engines, we're joined this weekend by the CEO of McLaren. Zach Brown is live with us on the pit wall. Zach, a very good afternoon to you.
Hey, Crofty, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. Formula One's back. I'm really excited, but as yet, myself, you, every team up and down the pit lane has no idea where you stand, really, after testing. So where do you think McLaren are after 8 days of Barcelona testing?
Well, you're exactly right. I think things will start to become clearer this weekend. I think we're mid-pack. The challenging part is the mid-pack appears to be about 4th through 9th, so it's quite a large mid-pack. And
tournament track that we've got.
We're on board with Carlos Sainz. Eagle-eyed fans here. Look to the right of the halo. You'll see Carlos Sainz 55, and on the Lando Norris McLaren, you'll see Lando Norris on there as well. Thank you, McLaren, for making it nice and easy for us all to spot that. Valtteri Bottas, I saw, was 25-1, Johnny, for the championship. I thought it was a cracking each-way bet.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad bet at all. Is it there? Yes, I think it is. Is the whole package there? That's where the question mark comes along. So I think he has gone into last winter thinking, right, I've got to somehow change this. I've got to toughen up, maybe. I've got to be able to absorb all the pressure that it will be thrown on my shoulders when I do get in a position to maybe win races and lead a championship. I think there is a different chance.
We are going to see really slow, cool laps to try and bring those rear pressures back down. So traffic could be a problem in this final sector.
And you're talking about qualifying there and Q1 with lots of drivers backing off. That's good. We might see some excitement with that one. I don't mind that at all. But in 1985, and eventually they said, yes, that is very much the case. So then I went down to Racing Point and I said, right, is this your first race or your 10th? Oh, it's a 10th. I went, yeah, but you're Racing Point now. You're not Racing Point Force India. It's got to be your debut. And they showed me their racing licence, which is the same number as it was last year after Spa, when, of course, they had the takeover and they came out of administration. So because that racing licence is exactly the same, the team would like this to be their 10th race in Formula One, and I see no reason to go against the team on that one, even though I do like a good row, as you know from time to time, Johnny. So for you statisticians out there, and I know there's a few of you, as Max Verstappen weaves past his teammate Pierre Gasly, it's Racing Point's 10th race. And it is Alfa Romeo's continuation from 1985, which was their last full season as a constructor in Formula One. And isn't it weird? We go to our 1,000th championship race in China in a couple of races' time. Don't forget the first ever World Championship Grand Prix at Silverstone, 13th of May 1950, won by Giuseppe Farina for Alfa Romeo on Pirelli tyres. Wouldn't it be great to see Kimi Raikkonen win for Alfa Romeo on Pirelli tyres for the 1,000th race?
It would be good for us, wouldn't it?
That
would be mighty
exclusive on Sky Sports F1. We'll see if it happens. Right, watching Max Verstappen pull the rest out on the track. And
he's absolutely on the limit of that car. It's looking strong. Package looking strong. I'm excited to see what he's going to do on Saturday afternoon. Very excited.
No, I think he's got a good shot, to be perfectly honest. I think they were so happy. Especially I saw Yossi's father in Barcelona. He was a very happy chappy, I have to say. So when you look at the cars, unsurprisingly, it looked pretty good on track. And the Honda, I had my little speed gun. Speeds, not bad at all.
The word I'm getting from within kind of Honda and Red Bull is that the engine is up there with Mercedes and Ferrari. Might not be as powerful, but it's not far off. They have got party modes for qualifying, so they can give it a little boost, which they haven't been able to before. But here's the crucial bit. They've had a lot of engines running on the dyno at Honda's R&D facility, and they've had engines that have done continuous 7 race distances or 7 race weekends. So that their reliability issues that have dogged them since they came back into the sports, they're going away, and Honda have put an awful lot of emphasis in testing to the absolute limit these engines, as they all do, but to make sure that they last the distance. So we're on board with the way through turn 4. So I tell you what, Paul, do you want to take us through a lap here, because we can ride on board with the Aussie?
Yeah, you can just see how thick and fast it comes up into sector 1, down into sector 2 now. Small chicanes, it's quite bumpy through here. You really want to think about traction as you wind yourself through a flat right-hander, and then you're down into another chicane. Big on the brakes, tuck it into the right, kiss the apex, you'll find yourself all over the exit curb. Open it up, there's no DRS at this zone, and this is where the real high speed comes into. This is where Crofty was talking about. Quick left, a jink to the right, second part should be flat as the fuel load comes off. On you go. So we're now down into the second DRS zone in this track. It's a 90 right-hander. On the left-hand side you can see the built-up area of this track. Daniel, nice and steady, had an off-year in qualifying a few years. So far up this straight, you really want to think about your exit. Don't compromise your entry too much.
So that's 11th fastest for Daniel Ricciardo with a 1:26.5. We're not going to worry too much about the times, but as his teammate Nico Hülkenberg looks on, he is going to have to have a reset this season, whereby in the past at Red Bull, if he's putting a really good lap, he can think, I might be on the front row, I might be in the top 5. That's not necessarily going to happen very often, if at all, this season.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have much of a reset, Crofty. I think he'll be very aware about his teammate. That is his real main thought, is just beating him.
Is that right? So as long as you're beating your teammate, you don't necessarily mind where else you are?
No, because that's the most important thing. Like you just said, he hasn't really maybe got a chance of getting on the podium, or definitely for a win. So really, you've just got to focus on doing the best job you can, driving as fast as you can, being on the edge.
So we are boxing this lap.
Well, we can tell that. But at least we can hear it now.
The radio's very clear, isn't
that
it?
was much
It
better.
is.
Yes.
They have been working very, very hard at Biggin Hill with a bunch of new graphics, much clearer team radios, new camera angles for this season as well, as you can see from the onboard and the shot back to Max Verstappen, which is going to look great under the lights in Singapore and Bahrain, of course, in a couple of weeks' time. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Racing Point.
Quite a bit ahead of what Perez has done, and I would assume same tyre, we can see that. Fuel load would be similar, so nice start. That'll get Perez worried when he looks at the data, that's one thing.
Sergio Perez has said Stroll's feedback has really impressed him. The team, I was out obviously at the launch in Toronto, was saying, do you know what, when we went to Abu Dhabi, he drove for us for the first time, you know, as a Racing Point driver. We gave him a while to get up to speed, but actually he was coming up with much faster lap times much sooner than we actually wanted and allowed for and thought he was capable of.
Yeah, he gets a bit of unfair criticism personally. I remember seeing him in European Formula 3, and I have to say, some people say, yes, but his father paid for the team and everything else, but you still have to pedal it. And I think he was very, very tough with his fellow drivers, but he was able to win that championship. I think he will be absolutely fine because the speed is there. We saw that on those occasions with Williams. Consistency, as we know, is always going to be the same. Will he be able to sort of carry the pressure on his shoulders without a problem? I think the way his demeanour is, I think he would be able to do that without a problem at all.
So we have had the first 40 minutes of the Formula 1 season. What happens now? The tyres that the teams were using are taken off the cars, handed back to Pirelli, stripped down and recycled and used in whatever they use them. But the headlines are Valtteri Bottas is ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who flat spotted that first set of tyres by 5/100ths of a second. There's only 8/100ths of a second between Bottas and Verstappen, who's third. Danny Kvyat back for a third time lucky, with Toro Rosso is half a second down ahead of his former teammate Pierre Gasly, or former Toro Rosso driver Pierre Gasly, now at Red Bull, and Lance Stroll, a second down, is currently sixth fastest. The only one who hasn't done a time so far is Nico Hülkenberg, so we're going to send Karun Chandok down to Renault to find out why, but it's Bottas from Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel at the moment, ninth fastest. So we're still on that little break at the moment when the cars come in and change their tyres, and then we'll go back out again when they feel that it's ready. So while there's nothing going on track whatsoever, let's talk to the team principal of Racing Point. He's with Rachel Brooks up my staff now.
Aero balance really is getting the car to the right area so we don't have understeer, oversteer, that type of thing.
When we came away from testing, there was a bit of a thought that Racing Point were a bit of an unknown. We weren't quite sure where you were fitting into that pack. Where do you think you are?
Well, it's hard to know. We made a strategic decision not to bring an upgrade to the second test such that we could bring it here and have it a little bit bigger than it normally would have been. So I don't think we were comparing apples to apples at the test. We'll soon find out.
And what's the mood like in the team at the moment? I know obviously in the past you've always said that you're the best value for money team, but with money now being invested in the team, are the targets higher and are the expectations greater?
Well, you know, it takes time between investing and seeing results. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, the nice thing is that the money that is being invested will go to bringing upgrades to the car more regularly, so that should have an impact. But we mustn't forget that this car here that we're racing this year was designed and manufactured almost completely manufactured by the time that the new investors took over. So this is really a legacy car from Force India.
Well, great, thanks for joining us, and we hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Apologies you didn't hear the start of that particular interview. There's something in the back of my mind when we started to hear from Otmar and he's saying understeer, oversteer. I wanted to start singing Wombling Free for some strange reason. For those of you around the world don't know who the Wombles were, just look it up. It's quite funny, really. Thank you for all your tweets, by the way. The names Paul de Resta and David Coulthard have been mentioned in quite a few tweets. That might be about that throttle thing, I'm not sure.
As I said, Croft, yeah. not going to share anything, so...
The mere fact that he's trying so hard not to look us in the eye means he's giving that away completely.
Still looking the other way.
All watching, of course, around the world. But a few of you saying, how are the speeds so far comparing to last year? Well, let's look at Bottas, a 1:24.6. Last year's FP1 best time was a Hamilton 1:24.0. So I'm expecting that 1:24.6 to come down. Track evolution here it is quite high, Johnny. That's not that far off, considering what they've done with the new regulations to try and take away some of the aerodynamic influences.
But I think, as you know, Crofty, over the winter, of course, what is the very first thing these teams try and do when there is a change? They try and get back what they've lost. And we heard it quite early, I think even before we got to Barcelona, that there were some teams, I think Red Bull was one of those, they achieved that.
Christian Horner down on the Red Bull pit wall, of course. His two drivers at the moment, Max Verstappen third fastest, Pierre Gasly fifth fastest. And I think we can head down, not to Red Bull, but to next door. Renault, of course, who finished fourth in the Constructors' Championship. I wondered what had happened to Nico Hülkenberg. Karun, got some news?
I do, Crofty. There's been a man lying underneath the car on a laptop. He sort of abandoned his laptop now underneath the car. But basically, Hülkenberg went out and did an installation lap, and they found some sort of electronic issue. So they've had to take the floor of the car off and do a full electronic reset. So they're hoping to get the car back on track fairly soon. But, yeah, at the moment, he's not going... I'd say they're still a good 15, 20 minutes away. The mechanic's standing on the left-hand side, holding the floor. And normally, as Paul and Johnny know, that's normally the sign of you're sort of 15 minutes away, aren't you, from getting the car on track. But yeah, still engineers underneath the car plugging in and trying to reset it.
Thanks, Karun. Back-to-back retirements, as I said, for Nico Hülkenberg to finish off the season. We touched a little bit on performances against teammates. He's not been beaten in qualifying by his teammate since his rookie season, Rubens Barrichello at Williams in 2010, and he's up against Daniel Ricciardo this year. That's a beautifully, finely poised battle between Ricciardo, who's seen as the better driver because he's got 7 race wins, and Hülkenberg, who was a solid driver, yet to be on the podium.
Yeah, and Daniel will definitely want to take that mark away from him around here, won't he?
Certainly will. This was Lewis Hamilton's flat spot. Hamilton at the track that he made his debut in F1, of course, in 2007. 230th race start this weekend in 2019. The 3 drivers, of course, for Lando Norris, for George Russell, who we're looking at there, and for Alex Albon, this is their debut, their first race in Formula 1. I tell you what, while there's nothing happening on track, let's hear from the So, 3 rookies going into their first race in Formula 1. Is it? Look, Paul, you made your debut here. What racetrack was your debut?
Rio de Janeiro. Many years ago, unfortunately. But
so bringing it back up to the modern times, Paul. No, go on.
No. I think the experience you have of suddenly coming into the F1 bubble, a bit different when I kicked it off, because I was doing Formula 3000 before, and I'd probably just popped into the odd Grand Prix when I was probably doing Formula 3 before that. But of course, like George, he's always sort of been in the paddock and has experienced it. But I went to Rio, and it was the first time the media I'd even sort of dealt with.
Well, Paul, you made your debut here. Lando Norris is doing that. He's out for another practice start and another few laps. What advice, if you could give them any advice, would you want to say? What's the one key thing about driving around Albert Park, which of course Lando Norris, not only is Lando Norris 7th fastest.
And confirm the wind is increasing. The wind has increased compared to where we started.
Has the wind increased? Bottas goes 8/10 quicker than his teammate Lewis Hamilton. What has happened here to the Williams of George Russell at the end of the pit lane?
Looked like he was going to do a start. That's like kind of where you do a start, isn't it?
Karun's down there. What have you seen or heard?
Yeah, George Russell went to the end of the pit lane and they called for him to stop the car. The mechanics have just gone sprinting past me and put the car onto trolleys now, so they're going to try and push it back. But clearly some sort of an issue. They've managed to call it early enough that George stopped just before the white line, so the mechanics could get there in time. Not seeing any smoke coming out of it. I'm standing alongside the car. George just winked at me, actually. But yeah, don't smell anything. You know, like you get an oil smell or something if there's an engine gone pop. But clearly some sort of an issue that Williams have asked him to stop the car.
Thanks, Cam. How are you doing?
I'm very good, actually. Of course, I'm looking at Lewis on his hot lap. He looks like he's going for it now, and of course that means the garage is completely empty because Valtteri Bottas he'll be on his way in a moment, I suppose. But this is one of the few garages that has a familiar feel to it. Both drivers are the same. Not much change in the design of the car from the outside. I mean, the livery and stuff. So everything looks very familiar. One of only 2 teams in Formula 1 not to have a change in driver lineup. So I wish I could tell you more. I'm actually more interested in watching him drive the car.
How's it?
Well, it looks lively, doesn't it? I think the first few runs of the Mercedes, I was looking at it thinking, God, that's jumping around a lot. It looks quite, the ride looks quite harsh, but their tire pressure is wrong, but the ride will be quite severely affected.
He's gone quickest overall as Lewis Hamilton, 1:23.5, 2/10 faster than his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Champ, thanks ever so much for the time being. Damon Hill with us this weekend. We'll have a world champion at every single race throughout the 2019 season as part of our amazing team at Sky Sports F1. Johnny Herbert and Paul di Resta in the commentary box with me today. Karun and Damon, as you heard, down in the pit lane and the paddock. Rachel Brooks joining in as well and presenting the F1 show after qualifying on Saturday. Martin Brundle will be out on track for P2 this afternoon for his usual stroll around the circuit. Nico Rosberg joins us in Bahrain and China, and yes, Ted Kravitz will be with us in China as well, and you can see Ted's new show on Wednesday next week, a real technical debrief of the Australian Grand Prix, and Jenson Button completing our lineup for this season, live and exclusive Sky Sports F1. If you're joining us for the first time, great to have you on board. We are on board now on the Red Bull around the track of Max Verstappen. All the rest of it.
Yeah, Crofty, I'm getting excited about this Red Bull, how quick it is early on. Max just looks like he's alive, doesn't he? Just looks like he's up for this challenge. You can see the sparks, usual Red Bull style, isn't it? Nose buried into the ground.
Actually, when you watch it there, it seems to be sort of really predictable.
Well, his Renault doesn't look too bad. No. The other Renault looks a little bit wrong. Electrical issues for Nico Hülkenberg. No time set, but things going back on the floors, back on that car. We're
wandering there.
So Sebastian Vettel goes second fastest there, and this is where the gap is to his teammate Charles Leclerc, and it's only in sector 2 that Leclerc had the advantage, but it's such fine margins, hundredths of a second, not tenths of a second. Is Leclerc going to go for another fast lap here? I think he is. Yeah. It was a very, very tidy lap, but this might get spoiled a bit because there's a yellow flag in sector 1, and it's Alex Albon.
Has that got the front wing off?
It has, yes, down at Toro Rosso. So he's hit a barrier down in the first part of the lap. And I wonder if that's on the exit there of turn 2, Paul.
It looks like it, Crofty, doesn't it?
Where Valtteri Bottas had his big crash yesterday. It feels like yesterday. Last year in qualifying.
I still think that's what lost Mercedes that race last year.
Yeah? Well, because they
Ferrari could just attack them from both sides, and that's what they did to win it.
Absolutely. Alex Albon, first race, debut race, suffering the nightmare that drivers suffer, and hitting the wall at Albert Park, and we can see him in the background. He was already going backwards.
Oh, front and rear.
Ooh, that's not good. Red flag. The session has been red flagged. The race director, Michael Massey, replacing Charlie Whiting, tragically passed away yesterday, has decided, no, we need a red flag so we can get on and recover the stricken Toro Rosso. You never like to see a car pull from a technical point of view, going in backwards, spinning around and losing the front wing as well.
No, he's got it going again, hasn't he? But it looks like he's not got too much damage on the rear, but when you were talking about what Lando needs to do this weekend, not that. When you're new to this, it's exactly what confidence is, because every lap he goes into there now for this weekend, he's going to be thinking about it.
Okay, take it easy, take it easy. Charge on, come slowly, you have no front wing, come very slowly.
Nice, calming, reassuring voice of Pierre Hamelin, the race engineer for Alex Albon. That's what he needs, you know, the protective arm around him a bit.
He does, but you know, like we're saying, this track bites. You know, you just run slightly wide and all the way to the end of the Grand Prix, you can do that because you just run a little bit too much speed into turn 1 with those bumps. You disconnect the rear with the front, and you're a passenger. You want to be accelerating and the car planted, but you know,
that's what I like about this track, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
and
a proper test.
You know, we don't always get glorious sunshine here either. When it's windy and wet,
yeah,
it's even more of a challenge, isn't it? Dealing with the white lines, and you can see all these white lines because you know most of the year it is obviously the park and some parking.
Karun, I hate to do this to you, but Paul's just saying when it's windy and when it's wet here, it makes it even more tricky at Albert Park. And of course, you know that through painful experience yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, the walls are close, aren't they? So unfortunately, I ended up in one of them. But I've made it down to Toro Rosso, and you can see that the mechanics are out here waiting. Daniel Kvyat has already come in. I mean, clearly, as you guys said, he's able to drive back on his own steam, and you know, we could see there the front of the nose box is still on it, and Alex Albon pulling in. Car looks reasonably square actually for what, as Paul said, he managed to hit the front and the rear.
Yeah.
But actually, when he came in, it didn't look like it was too badly out of alignment.
It's got some damage on the back, Karun. There's definitely some.
Looks like the end plate.
Yeah, I can see the end plate is damaged now. They've just wheeled the car forward. The crash structure slightly damaged. The diffuser as well. So there's a rear wing, but the actual rear corner, you know, even the wheel rim looks pretty much intact at the moment. There's a bit of paint scuffing on it. The rear floor itself doesn't look too bad as well. So I think, considering the hit that he's had, I think he might actually get away with relatively low amount of damage.
I could see Karun getting in there to inspect the damage. He also got within about 2 foot of Franz Tost there, which is bravery.
Do, yes.
Bravery in the line of duty, the fury of France down there. I don't suppose the team boss wants to have a chat, Karun, while you're down there?
I'm not that brave, guys.
Now, Renault was saying that red flag was a bit of a pain in the backside for them as well, because Nico Hülkenberg was just about to come out when Alex Albon had his crash. So now Nico Hülkenberg can come out because the session has restarted. The pit lane has gone green again. Hülkenberg can get out onto the track and make up for lost time here.
Yeah, he can. Danny Rick didn't have the best run. He only managed a 25.6, obviously going for another attempt after that traffic that he had with the Haas. But he won't be used to looking at himself down in P15. You know, he'll be looking at Verstappen up in P4.
But that's what I mean.
10th and a half off, you know, is he going to be down
Paul,
in that
about the
decision?
mental readjustment, the mind reset he's going to have to go through this year.
It's going to be painful.
Yeah.
It certainly is. However, this is just free practice. Things do change around a little bit as we go on. But what was the gap between Ricciardo and Verstappen? 1.8 seconds. He's got to stop, and I'm sure he isn't, comparing himself to Max Verstappen in the timings this year.
No. As I said before, it'll just be your teammate dealing with that, and then of course then trying to help guide the team to bigger and better things, maybe towards the end of the season, but obviously next year and beyond.
So Hülkenberg out on track, getting some laps in, out of sync with everybody else. What sort of program do they stick him on? Don't worry about some fast laps. We actually just need you to get some setup work done here because we've missed out on it.
He'll be on exactly the same fuel as what his teammates on. I don't think anybody's concentrating on high fuel loads, although that red flag has probably prompted the big teams like Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull to get out there and get initial impression because they've got the laps in before that red flag. But you know, if you're sitting in Hülkenberg, you just want to go out there in something that's familiar to get a bit of a feeling, to get your setup done with your engineers over the lunch break and talk about it, Johnny, isn't it?
Yeah, that's track Hülkenberg. He's had that now for a couple of years. They have a good understanding of each other, and it's now just getting those laps so they can just get them.
Probably nailed this, to be honest.
Well, Kimi's done 11 laps, same as his former teammate Sebastian Vettel has. Hasibul at #SkyF1 says, I've got a strong suspicion that Ferrari are sandbagging an incredible amount. It's 7/10 between Hamilton and Leclerc, with Sebastian Vettel, 7/700ths I should say, with Sebastian Vettel in the middle. Would Ferrari be sandbagging? Would there be any reason to sandbag an incredible amount in this session?
Not really, because you can't react to it, can you? And what you want to do is find the best balance you can. So they'll be just working through exactly what they think is the best way forward. But they'll have plenty of fuel in that car and plenty of, you know, would you say party mode on the engine modes, Crofty?
Yeah.
Is that the term we want to still use?
Well, we love party mode. How's the last hour and 20 minutes been for you?
Yeah, it's going all right. It's going as scheduled. Little issues here and there, but that's what you expect in free practice one. And looking at the early times, it does look like the midfield has about a few tenths covering it.
Yeah, we know it's going to be tight in the midfield. We know that you're going to be in amongst it. One leading team said to me yesterday, do you know what, on race pace, we think McLaren could be best of the rest. Have they got a point?
You know, I don't know yet. You know, our testing was good, but it looks really competitive. And given all the data we have, we can tell we're in the mix, but I think it would be a little early to make any predictions. We're at the front of that group.
Zach, you obviously listening in intensely into Lando's radio. Is he confident? Is he feeling a bit more relaxed than he was an hour and a half ago?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's his first session now as a Grand Prix driver. So, as you know from driving, I think once the visor goes down, you get in your comfort zone. So I think he's doing well.
The reality, I suppose, hits Lando in a little while, where he goes out for FP2 for the first time ever. He's done FP1 sessions before, Zach, but it's a whole new ball game from later on this afternoon onwards. That's something. He'll be very, very happy with the way this practice session's gone, though. Some solid laps in for the Toro Rosso, and 7th fastest overall as Lewis Hamilton takes the checkered flag for his final lap of this session. That lap from Hamilton, a 1:28.0, but it matters not. It was in a race strategy at that stage. The headline time for Hamilton, a 1:23.599. Toto Wolff looks on. He's not smiling. Has no reason to smile because Hamilton might be top, but the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel is less than 4/100ths of a second behind Lewis Hamilton. The defending champion has Sebastian Vettel breathing down his neck once again, but here's the best thing. Vettel has now got his teammate breathing down his neck as well. So it's not just a two-way fight. There are others in the mix. Max Verstappen within 2 tenths for Red Bull. Valtteri Bottas at 2.5 tenths back, completing the top 5 for Mercedes. There is all to play for this weekend, and Sebastian Vettel going for a 3rd win in a row here in Australia, kicking up a bit of dirt as he went into the chicane. But I would imagine Johnny will be feeling nice and satisfied, as will his teammate, as to what has happened for the last hour and a half.
Yeah, I think it's great motivation to sort of kick off the first session, end up like that. Ferrari be very happy to have those two boys there, 2nd and 3rd, and it'd be great to see if that sort of momentum can be carried enough by Mercedes to just keep that gap as small as it is between themselves and the Ferrari, because that
for the Constructors' Championship, I think that Ferrari pairing this year.
Yeah,
I happen to agree with you on that one. So the man going for a 6th consecutive pole here in Albert Park has the fastest time of the morning. The man going for his 3rd consecutive win at Albert Park is less than 4/100ths of a second right behind him. What are the headlines elsewhere? Kimi Raikkonen, 6th fastest for Alfa Romeo. And then Hulkenberg had problems with the electrics on his car. He only put in 11 laps in that session. Raikkonen's teammate Giovinazzi confirming, I think, really Alfa's pace by being 11th fastest. That midfield pack is so tight. From Raikkonen in 6th down to Stroll in 15th, 4 tenths of a second covering that midfield pack. Stroll ahead of Perez, the new teammates down at Racing Point. Ricciardo down in 17th, the local hero who got held up a little bit on his 2 flying runs towards the end. Lando Norris, 18th fastest on his debut. Alex Albon, by the way, in that midfield pack, 13th fastest overall. Robert Kubica ahead of George Russell. The headline for Williams, though, is they knew that they might be slow here, but the timings rather confirming that they are a bit slower than they might have thought. There's a struggle on for Williams this weekend. Let's see what they can do from here. Lewis Hamilton, fastest overall with a 1:23.5. That compares to a 1:24.0 this time last year. so the car's getting faster, it seems, than we had in 2018. Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen and Bottas completing the top 5. We had one red flag in this session. It happened when Alex Albon in the Toro Rosso lost it coming out of turn 2, and he hits his rear wing against the side of the wall and spun it round. He lost his front wing as well. The gap of 5.1 seconds from top Hamilton down to George Russell in the Williams. Formula One is go then for 2019. Join us again for FP2 in a little while.
First of the year, and then the story so far from those opening 2 practice sessions from 7. Come on to in a while with what was going on at the front of the grid, if you like, there. But let's talk to Cyril Abiteboul. Cyril, how was that for an opening practice session? Nico looked to have an electrical issue, and Daniel...
Yeah, it was not a very nice way, frankly, to start the season and to start the weekend. It was a bit scrappy. We had a very simple issues which required to take the floor off and reprogram the ECU, basically. So that took away a lot of time, and then the run plan, and then we had a number of items to test, which we tried to switch to the other car. So that basically, makes the whole session to be a bit in a panic mode. But apart from that,
Cyril, this season, what are the expectations? What has Daniel brought to the team?
Well, Daniel, I mean, we all know Daniel, and what I can say now that he's working with us is that he's inside just like he's looking from outside. He's a gentleman, he's talented, he's passionate, and so I mean he can bring a lot, but also he can bring also some specific items. So for instance, here today there is a specific item where he wants us to progress, and that's good because that's giving new direction to the team. It's complementary to Nico, so it's all of that we're looking to see in action.
Do you think he'll make Nico Hülkenberg raise his game a little?
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. I think it's so far it's probably the best teammate that Nico ever had. Carlos was strong. It's probably Daniel is stronger. So we all know how this is happening and the dynamic that we want to create. So this is type of positive snowball effect that we want to see.
How much of a coup was it to take Daniel Ricciardo away, do you think, in the end from Red Bull?
It's not a coup. Frankly, I don't want this to be presented or interpreted like that. It's just one milestone on our journey, on our plan. We wanted and we needed to have a driver lineup capable of starting to get near the top 3 in the next 2 years. That's the plan, that's the target. So that's not more of a strategic move that needs to be interpreted to the wake of a long-term strategy rather than a coup.
I've heard a couple of times the expression Renault have really done what they said they were going to do this winter with regarding to the power unit engine, as we might want to call it. If I was pressing the throttle, what would that mean to me? What have you done this winter?
Well, you would be looking for a figure which I'm not going to give.
I would.
Well, basically, what I can say is that all the investment, all the recruitment, all the changes that we've done to the organization since the last 3 years, what people don't realize is the time it takes between the decision that you make, the changes that you make to a factory, and when it starts to pay off. What I can say is that today is a payoff, and that's what we want to see in action. But frankly, even though it was not a fantastic session, have a look at the GPS, have a look at how it looks on the straights, and for me it's already looking extremely decent.
Cyril, you were quite vocal pre-season about your contempt, if you like, for B teams and the way that it kind of, certain teams up and down this paddock are running them. You said that's not going to be the case. It can't be the case between yourself and McLaren. How much is that going to hamper you, do you think, in development terms?
Yeah, it's a problem. I mean, just look at Toro Rosso, who, frankly, in my opinion, is likely to be the team to beat as far as we're concerned for the start of the season, given where we are. And Toro Rosso had no technical director for most of last season. It's very clear what's going on. So we don't even need a technical director to produce what's a very competitive car. For us, that's a problem. For me, there was a before and an after Haas that has created a precedent. I'm not challenging, but I'm just saying how do we move forward, or do teams like us, like McLaren, like Williams, move forward? But also, how do a manufacturer that's currently not in Formula One, who want to join Formula One, how they will seriously contemplate reaching Formula One if that's not possible to win without a B team? So that's really a strategic question. That's something we'll have to consider for the discussion for 2021. For 19 and 20, that's gone now. We are gone in that with that type of setup. But for 2021, I hope everyone realize how serious a question it is.
A lot of turbulence at the very top of Renault, to say the least. How's that going to impact the Formula One team? Is there still the same interest, same passion, or more pressure?
Well, it's new people, but also you could argue that we've been in Formula One since 41 years. There's been lots of people involved, lots of different people in the committee, in executive committee, lots of different CEO. But every single time that we've looked at the figures in terms of return on investments, comparing Formula One to another type of return on investment, plus the credibility and the legacies that we have in Formula One, the figures are speaking for themselves. So maybe we will have to present the new figures, the same figures to the new people. But I'm convinced that if we keep on delivering the way that we've delivered up until now, which means sticking to the roadmap, and I'm completely aware that the most difficult is yet to come. I have no doubt about the future, but the future is in our hands.
But from the board, fourth is the minimum target for this year.
Of course, I mean, the minimum target is to keep on the momentum and the progression, and you know where we finished last year.
Thank you, Cyril. Appreciate the time, and good luck for the rest of the weekend. OK, time for a first look, brand new look, at the new Skypad for 2019. Karuna's there to have a look around. What are Charles Leclerc's laps?
Yeah, Charles Leclerc, first session, of course, as a Ferrari driver, only 700ths away from the time that Lewis Hamilton did. So let's go on board with him. Heading down towards turn one. Look at his head bobbing around. It's a bumpy braking zone in here. But that Ferrari's got great ride quality in comparison to, I think, the Mercedes, as Damon highlighted earlier in the session. I'm just going to pause it as he heads down towards turn three. If you look just to the left-hand side, move it forward a little bit. Look at his precision as he comes into the braking zone. Bang on the white line on the edge of the circuit. Really, really good precision there from the young Ferrari driver. Through 3 and 4, pretty good balance. No real dramas through 5. They're comfortably flat these days in these big, wider cars. Heading towards 6, very tricky corner, the crown in the road. But Leclerc, this isn't a lap on the ragged edge. We had a couple of people tweeting in during the session saying, I think Ferrari are sandbagging. And I sort of agree. I don't think, but equally, I don't think Lewis Hamilton is on the ragged edge yet anyway. But through 9 and 10, now down the long straight, we go up to the top camera angle to this brilliant turn 11 and 12 sequence of corners. This is where you're threading the eye of the needle. And if I just pause it here on the exit, look at Leclerc. He's leaving a margin here in qualifying. He's going to be in that area using all the road on the way out. So again, just showing that we're leaving a little bit of margin there on the way out of these quick corners. Down towards turn 13, a nice little braking zone there. The car well balanced, not having to really attack the grass screed or the AstroTurf for the way out. But that Red Bull is now coming closer and closer to him. That Red Bull was on an outlap, and as Paul mentioned in commentary, that would have created a little bit of turbulence there in this final sector. So Leclerc would have dropped a tenth and a half, but a nice tidy lap. Ferrari certainly will be happy. They've hit the ground running clean, no real problems, reliability or shunts, and that's exactly how Leclerc would have wanted to start his Ferrari career.
Yeah, great stuff. We were just talking about that, Damon. How much of a marker is that, do you think, from Leclerc's perspective, to be 4/100ths off Vettel?
He's breathing down Vettel's neck already in the first session. It's fantastic. It's fantastic performance. It's not easy coming. The guy's got confidence. I mean, everything about him sort of says, I'm okay, I can do this. And he looked absolutely cool as a cucumber there.
I mean, if I didn't know that was a hot lap, I'd have said it was an out lap. I mean, I don't have a granny, but if I did, she could drive that car at that pace.
Yeah.
It's glued to the track. Look, just the car looked perfect.
Compared with the Mercedes? I mean, I know Lewis went quickest there, but did you think that the potentially looked a bit stiffer?
The Mercedes looks good, looks fast, but it's got an awful lot of movement, a lot of vertical front stiffness by the looks of it, and somehow or another there's a frequency going on there, but the Mercedes got good pace. I think that session reconfirmed our views and about the top three very close together, and then there appears to be about a second gap, and then a very close midfield as well.
Encouraging thing is it looks like the Honda Red Bull looks good too. I mean, there's only a tiny gap. I mean, you wouldn't want that to be there all the time, but Max Verstappen, you know, if he's only a little bit off, he can do it.
And no worries about the speed of these cars. Remember the quickest in P1 last year? It was a 124, wasn't it?
24 flat, yeah,
so
mid-23s.
So
I mean, that really impresses me by all of the teams because, you know, they were supposed to be 2 seconds a lap slower, these cars, theoretically, with, you know, the more simple front wing. And they just get on the programme and refined that downforce and the grip. And here we are already faster.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thanks for your time, gentlemen. If you're back in the UK, get a brew on. Because we'll be back in a couple of hours. Hamilton was quickest, really tight between the top 3 or 4, and then in the midfield too. Lots more to discuss when we come back for practice 2.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.